We'll get started here shortly. Get yourself situated. Some water, some stretches, clean the space. We got a good one. We got a good one today on day 6. Welcome, welcome. We'll get started here in a few. Day 6, we done made it through the door and we guided ourselves through using our intuition. So now what's next? Experiencing something. And then I know, like, once we get these experiences, we get so excited, right? And we want to share it, and we don't know who's gonna believe us and all this. So this is ways to, ground your experience from the heart. And the affirmation for today and intention is, I'm ready to experience from my heart. So here in about 2 more minutes, we'll get started with the sigh breathing as usual, which is just the inhale and the sigh on the exhale to lift a little weight off the heart center. And then we'll do the 3 deep breaths. And then I got a little twist with it today. We'll spice it up a little bit. I know people get tired sometimes of doing the same thing, but this is creating, good habits as we call it. So a little breath can take you a long ways. Okay. Make sure you got some water. There's gonna be some fire coming through today. Yeah. Always have that water beside me. All right. Let's begin with the sigh breathing. I'll lead us on, and then I'll mute myself, and then I'll bring us back in, and then we'll start on the deep breathing. We could start in about 10 seconds. Okay. Inhale. Ah. 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 Visualize the worries lifting. One more minute. I'll do these last ones with you. Sit your back straight as you can, with your chin parallel to the floor and your eyes staring straight. 20 more seconds. Like to do different tones. It brings a different vibration to the center of the heart. Kind of find the sound. Okay, now we'll begin with the 3 deep breaths. And this time, what I would like for us to learn and do is the box breathing, which is a 4 breath fold in, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, and repeat. And if you're new to this, just go at your own pace, and you could just do the regular breathing as we usually do with the deep inhale and then the prolonged exhale, right? So I'll guide us through it. You inhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 2, 3, 4. Inhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 2, 3, 4. One more. Inhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4, 2, 3, 4. Now exhale, 2, 3, 4. Now hold, 2, 3, 4. Now let's take one last deep inhale as much as you can feel the lungs. Hold at the top. Let's begin. Inhale. Hold. Feel the vibe. Release. Slowly. Dropping the shoulders and the worries. All right. I want to start us off today with a little clip from Wayne Durr. And it goes something like this.
Not a human being here having a spiritual experience, but that is the other way around. That you're a spiritual being having a human experience. And the quality of your human experience is really much more dependent upon how you use this invisible intelligence and how you connect to this energy. It doesn't matter if you call it God, if you call it divine presence, if you call it soul, if you call it spirit, if you call it consciousness. Alan Watts once said that you can't get wet from the word water. It isn't the word that allows you to experience water, but until you have made conscious contact with it, you'll never know it. You're not a human.
So that's the experience that we're looking for from the heart, right? You need to make contact. So from that, I want to give you a practical application before I dive into the presentation. It's something just to keep in mind. As the labyrinth spirals within, we need to check in with our heart and see that we are honoring our path. Many of us tend to form patterns in our lives to protect ourselves from being hurt. We allow fear to control us, but we are in control of the memories we make and choose to create for our futures. When you reflect on past hurts, ask how you can turn these into love and forgiveness. Our memories are a part of our cellular memory, and even when painful on reflection, think about how you can turn it into something great. What is it you can pass on to your children and teach those who are drawn to your soul essence? So this is something just to keep in mind and kind of question yourself, right? Is what is it that you can pass on to your children and teach those who are drawn to your soul essence? So let's begin. When you unite your heart and mind, you're able to see through the illusion of fear and chaos in the world. So this would be something on the lines of like being able to see beyond the veil, right? Beyond the illusion. And therefore you have better intake and information to go upon this journey and this path that you're on when walking in between, like we said yesterday, right? Your feet is on the ground, but your heart's connected to the spirit world. So when you unite your heart and mind, you're able to see through the illusion of the fear and chaos in the world. You're able to experience the miracle of a direct link with the divine's love and presence. And so the key is to a union between the mind and the heart. So this is the connection. This is the like we've been discussing, right? To have the actual full heart and not a broken heart. So the connection and the key here is the union between the mind and the heart. So, and what did we discuss in previous build is that we need to be able to listen to our hearts in order to tell if our mind is out of whack, right? If it's beating too fast, or if it's beating just right, or if it's beating too slow. And we can always tell that by tuning in, which I gave a couple journal prompts to do, being able to do that more easier and hear the rhythm of your heart, and then being able to, if you need to slow it down, take some deep breaths or some sigh breaths. So these are a couple ways just to connect the mind and the heart, because like it says here, it's the key, you know, the union between the mind and the heart for you to be able to access yourself, accept yourself, you know, assess yourself. So how do you know if your heart's closed? So this is important here, because when you always are looking for the good, right? You're not looking at the bad, like we discussed yesterday, like the backside of you or the mirror of you, then you won't know how to operate or mechanically rewire yourself, right? So this was the point about how do I tune in more? And that's, get away from technology for a little bit, just start to become aware of your thoughts for 5 to 10 minutes, just see where they go. And this is where you can see like how your thinking patterns are, how you're feeling with your heart. This is the work, the reflection, the integration. So how do you know if your heart is closed? And I wrote a couple of points here. So judging others and yourself harshly, you find fault in others and yourself. You're fearful of showing your true self. You protect your feelings. You tend to connect to other people. You you tend to connection to other people. You are often angry. You feel stuck and alone in your pursuits. So this is how you could tell if your heart is closed. A couple of them. There's a lot more, but I just wanted to give you an awareness of how you could start checking in with yourself, right? Like we said in the beginning of the text I read about when you get lost or you're going through the labyrinth, right? You need to be able to go back in with the heart, check in. Am I honoring my path? on my path. So in contrast, if your heart is open, you show affection to others. You want others to be happy. You want yourself to be happy. You're willing to look silly and be in your authentic self, your true self. You attract beautiful things into your life. You can love others unconditionally, and you have a great relationship with yourself. So meaning you love yourself, right? You take care of yourself, you breathe, you eat right, you do yoga, you do all these things that are beneficial to the human being, right? And to yourself and to your heart and to your love. You got to love yourself before you can really love others, because how can you love others if you don't love yourself? If we always are saying all is self and everybody is me. So if that's the case, love yourself and you could really love, you could really, if this is something that, it's it's not, that's what I mentioned. It's not even something you go out and look for, like, oh, I need to find my love or my soulmate, because your literal fabric is made of that, right? So as soon as we start trying to go like find it elsewhere, we get lost, we get in the labyrinth, right? So this is why we need to come back and check in with the self and make sure you're loving yourself, because this is only going to be, the more you could do that, the more you'll attract your real true, you know as we're calling it, soulmate. But from my studies and research and experiences, the soulmate is really just you. It is your higher self, as we're calling it, right? But it's when you connect back with that, that's your twin flame. Okay, it's became a whole thing now, and it's cool to have a relationship with people. It's so beautiful, right? But I'm just saying, it's really beautiful when you can have a relationship with both sides of your energies within, and then go do that and see how that works. Because then you go attract, you don't even go really, when you start to love yourself, that just comes, that love, that beauty, that joy that you're looking for, because now you got it within, and that's where it's at. So everything that attracts to you now is that, and it comes in abundance. And that's why I said you have an infinite wellspring to pull out of, and an infinite space. That's why I tell you right on time here, whether you're on the recording or watching this live, because this is an infinite wellspring to pull from, right? This is the intention of this 7-day activation. I made sure of it. So just remember that. If you always need to come back here, this is always a place you could pull from. So having a neutral mind, try to look at people and things without giving them a label right away. Instead of seeing things as good or bad, allow everything to be who and what they are without judgment. Look at other people's adventures and successes with awe and curiosity, instead of jealousy or self-doubt. So instead of oh, what is that person doing, right? Like, that person's on a journey, on a path, on an adventure, just like us. So instead of automatically going to is this, oh, this person's good or this person's bad or something like that, right? Just judging. Maybe look at like the journey of this individual. Like, maybe he has to be put through this adventure, or she has to be put through this adventure or journey to be able to get to a certain space of awareness, right? Like, if you understand, like, there's beings that have been here for lifetimes and lifetimes, right? Because they're getting put through the university and they need to learn their lessons. And there's some that choose to come and incarnate, right? To finish off a mission. And that's a little bit more of an advanced state, um, which I did post a little bit of information in Geneva for us. But it's just to say, when we start to judge people and stuff, like, we're judging ourselves. We're making an enemy out of ourselves. You are your own worst enemy. So when you're looking at somebody else like that, you're not seeing the point, right? You're kind of like, you're missing the other side of self, which is that's why I said, if you don't understand that your heart is not in balance, or it's closed off from them little points that I gave you to check in, then express that on somebody else. Some people call it, and Carl Jung called it, the shadow self, right? So just remember when those kind of evaluation, those judgments start to come up, like check in pretty much, like, oh, like what's going on here? Like, I don't need to be judging, right? Like, because if I'm judging somebody else, I'm judging myself, right? And which is like, we do it all the time, as you cannot tell, right? So what I'm trying to get to here is maybe learn how to see the other side of that, where you don't judge so much and see the benefits of the intellect, the awareness of the intellect that this wisdom from your heart brings you when you don't judge, because you start to enter a place of unconditional thoughts, even, like the feeling of the unconditional love is so powerful that it intertwines into the thoughts that you're having about another being. So when you get to that place, it's a whole nother ballpark. Instead of, oh, this person's good, this person's bad, I don't know if I should have, making all these judgments, right? Which is a thing we do, and we categorize, right? That's our left brain. So that's why, but I'm trying to get to the point here is of bridging the heart and the brain together. So when you looking at somebody, you could come from a place of unconditional love and seeing them, oh, look, they're walking the journey just like me, right? So that's the point of this, having a neutral mind. So a way that you can just experience more from the heart and have those experiences, this: tell others you love them. Show and tell your favorite people that you love them. If that feels uncomfortable, write them a letter, express your feelings of love, and let love flow back to you. Remember, we always talk about what goes around comes around, the toroidal field, and like all this stuff, right? That just is like a loop. So, or orbit, however you want to call it. So the more we express our love to others, the more we will be able to receive love, right? And the more we love ourselves, that's almost like a double on add-on to it. So it's like I'm giving love because I know I love myself, so I have it to give. And if you are shy to tell certain people that you love them, but you do, write them a letter or a song or even art. There's a bunch of ways to express the love, right? So the point of this is really to do it unconditionally. Therefore, like the love flows back, right? We're not manipulating each other to try to get something from each other, right? Because we do this unconsciously, but you won't know this until you start checking in. So the point here is to just show love to people, to express love to people. Maybe every day you wake up, write a letter to yourself even. Like, hey, if you have problem with expressing it to others, start with yourself. Like this is the journey back to self. This is the having experiences with the heart part, right? This is the way to do it. If you want that. And then when you have that, it's like, how do I explain this to people, right? And this is where the journaling comes in, the interrogation, the grounding the self, the getting away from technology, the dream, right? It all comes into play. All is self. So just remember that. That's the highest magnum, how all is self. If you ever get in fear, all is self. That's all you got to remember. The first step to opening your heart is to be aware of when it is closed, like we were discussing. And I gave you the points, or how you could check in with yourself. Notice what is triggering it. Take what you need from the experience or feeling and then let it go. So realize what happened, because this is that point of being the observer, right? Instead of like, oh, like that's what's making me feel bad. And then getting into the maze, right? And that's the point of the making a decision and making a timer for your decision making, right? So you figured out the trigger, you figured out the root. From there, let it go. You see it now you're aware. You don't need to worry about anything else. The divine and you So you did your part, right? Where you found the trigger, you found the root. So now you basically gotta shift to the other side of the mind, the brain, the hemispheres. So you gotta let the unknown part do its thing, right? So when you let that go, I'm telling you, when you let that root trigger go, because and it takes practice. I'm still, working on some too, but I've had experiences. That's why I'm trying to tell you. When you let these certain triggers go and these traumas, even ones from past lives or what we're calling past lives, which is our ancestors, because it's still through our DNA. So when you figure those out and you release them and let them go, you'll have an experience. And I would love to hear your experience if you could articulate it in verbal language, and because I know how it is. So this is something I work with. When I bring these gnosis and this wisdom and this experience to y'all, I wait a couple days. Sometimes I pull it right out because I'm like, I gotta transmit it, right? But I wait as much as I can so I can understand it for myself. That's the integration part. That's the journaling. That's the grounding. And then you come back and then speak it, because now if you just, especially sometimes it's cool, right? You come back from the side, the unknown, the other side, whatever you want to call it, and you spit out the language, you spit out the knowledge. Not only say language, but yeah, but basically you spit out the knowledge, right? The language. And then, but the trick about this, let me tell you, this is a gem. If you start to explore, which I feel like if you're here, you are or you will be. So when you come back from the higher spaces or higher realms or higher energies, higher or whatever you want to call them, right? Don't try to talk about it right away. This is why. Because when you're back here in the 3D or in the physical or in your body, however you want to call it, right? And you start to try to express what you just seen and what you just experienced or whatever, you start to leave that space way more quicker. It's like the tube I was talking about with the dream, right? Like when the spirit's coming back in the body and you open your eyes and now you're getting all the input and the information from the 3D realm. So the tube starts closing and you forget the dream realm, right? So that's why it's important when you come back to interrogate and ground yourself, because when you do that, you're letting your hemisphere sink. They call them hemisync, right? Hemisync. And when you're doing that, and then you open your eyes back up, and you're like, that was wild. And then you write it down, date, everything you experience, right? And then you let that sit there for a few days, and you just ponder on it, you meditate on it, and now you come and talk about it. And that's what I wanted to say about having these experiences from the heart. So what is my shin? This is really good stuff right here. This is ancient knowledge about spirit. I'll speak about it. So look, among the many aspects of Taoist belief is the concept of three treasures: Jing, Qi, and Shin. So Jing, Qi, and Shin. These three treasures form the basis for each human's life and have three corresponding levels of existence. The reproductive, Jing, the metabolic, I think I'm saying that right, the metabolic, Qi, and the spiritual, Shin. So, and we know as some, we know as Qi as life force, energy and stuff like that, right? And then now I'm trying to break it down to you in the three parts. So the Shin is the spiritual aspect of it, right? And the Jing is the reproductive. So, well, we're gonna focus more on Shin today because it's more on the spiritual aspect, but trust me, we'll get into all these things in later builds. So Shin is our spirit in the realm of the heart. It is the connection to our higher selves and to our spirituality. However, we define that for ourselves. So it's like I was saying, how the heart connects you to that spirit realm, right? So this is a way that the Taoists, and this is a way more ancient title or word for it that just clings more closer to the root, right? Of the spiritual side of things when we're speaking about it verbally. And that's why it says here, to our own spiritual, into our own spirituality, however we define that for ourselves. So we got all kind of names for it now. Really everything, like when people say, oh, spirit, oh, she's spiritual, or they're spiritual, or that's a spiritual play, like really everything is spiritual. We're we're in, a space where spirit resides, and spirit is all, right? Soul is the individual of the spirit. So that's like you, me, her, him, right? And then once you catch that spirit, though, now you have the wisdom and the knowledge. Now you have the shin, right? Now you're in your heart where all of us reside, right? So shin is our consciousness, our ability to be aware of ourselves as individuals and separate from everything else in the universe. It carries with us a sense of compassion, of kindness, and love. When shin is balanced, we are content within ourselves. We don't need the approval or validation of others to feel whole. There is a sense of self-confidence that radiates out from us. We feel connected to others and to the world around us by virtue of being alive rather than needing to be liked or loved by those around us. So it's saying, when you're on your path, when you're aligned and you're listening to your heart, right? Your shin, your spiritualism, like within, is in balance with your earthly matters, pretty much. We are content with ourselves. We don't need validation or approval from anybody or anything, right? Or like any aspect of life. We don't need it from anybody because we know within what resides within us, right? And that's all of us and everything that you can think of. The DNA, but the heart specifically, will let you know anything. You can even travel time. You all ask and you shall receive, right? This is real. But you got to tap into this power. You got to tune in. You got to listen, right? It's like we're all trying to find the way out. But it's like you got to go in. There's no going out. You're already out. So just like a reminder, like you got to go in, and like the beginning of the presentation was saying, the key is uniting the mind and the heart, right? Because for some reason we're all floating in the head. It's funny too, because they got like cartoons that have been talking about this, like Futurama, so The Simpsons, where they got the head only floating in a jar, right? That's having what? No body. Think about that word. No body. So it's like just thinking, blah, 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 and you're just floating. Like, it's like you forgot about your body. And your body's constantly talking to you. Hey, I'm hungry. Hey, my heart's beating too fast. Hey, I need to go use the restroom, right? But your mind starts interpreting it in a whole different aspect, right? The labyrinth, right? So that's why we need to check in. This is really what this is, the check-in. So therefore we can understand, okay, am I experiencing from my heart? Like, because you're always like, there's no way that you cannot ever. That's why you get the good and the bad emotions coming. The emotions are coming mostly from the heart, and the right brain is connected to the top of the heart. So when we start to, feel bad and we start feeling down, like that's our emotions, right? So we need to be able to check in when we get too much in our head about a situation that's making us sad or mad, or any of these lower vibrational fields or energies. So the way to do that is tuning in, listen, the dreams, bridging the dreams to the physical, you know, letting them sit in your journal before you read it, really, so you can start just pondering on your experiences and then come back. And then, like, you know, in the previous build, it says you got gold, because once you start putting it together here, like we've been doing all these years with the logic or what we're calling the logic or the left brain, we start to like, oh yeah, I remember this journal, and you pick it up and you got all these dates and all these stories from these dreams, and you start reading it, and it starts connecting from what you've been meditating on somehow, some way, right? Some call it magic, synchronicity, whatever you want to call it. But this is gold. This is when now you got the bridge. Now you link the two pieces of the heart, or the mind and the heart, together. Now you have understanding and wisdom of both worlds, of here and the other side, is a lot like to call, right? So let's move on. In your mind, you can rationalize all kinds of things, like we were just talking about, like the labyrinth, right? You may want for yourself and others, but the crucial choices you make come straight from your heart. What condition is your heart in? And if you have your journal and paper out, and if you don't, I'll give us 2 minutes. Because this is a advanced check-in thing right here. When you really ask yourself, what condition is your heart in? So I gave you the bulletin points, right? To say, is my heart closed or is it open? You ask yourself these questions. Now, if you want to take it a step further, you say, what condition is my heart in? Do you have a kind heart? Self talking to self, pretty much. This is the mirror. This is the shadow work. This is the seeing other side of self and accepting self. Because you're becoming aware now. So, do you have a kind heart? Is your heart warm or cold? Generous or stingy? Stingy, I'm sorry. Greedy or giving? Overflowing or empty? Full of love or hatred? Trustworthy or underhanded? Does your heart beat with joy and gratitude? And that's the big one. Because when you hear that beat, when you go tune in and you listen, that's what is it beating with? What's it beating with? Like, you'll say love, of course, love. Like, this is what my heart's beating with, right? But nah, really let that intuition, that whatever bubbles up and comes up when you ask yourself that, does your heart beat with joy and gratitude? And see what comes up, right? And that's what I have for today. On the 6th day, this is the seed. This is the bridge. This is the marriage, the 6, right? Or the sex, you can call it whatever you want. But it's the energies coming together, right? You could call it a lot of things: the masculine energy, the internal, the external, the unknown, the known, right? The logic, the creativity. So I love this. I love that y'all are here for self and wanting to understand more about the heart center and heal the heart center. I have something really beautiful in store for y'all for tomorrow on this the last day of the journey. And that's not it though. Even though that's the last day, we got more in store. So I would like to open it up if anybody had anything to say. our comment, our question, any questions, or just thanks, giving thanks. Also, let me give my thanks to y'all and also to the ancestors that are here helping me guide the wisdom for you. So yeah, we give thanks. Let me open up the mics. Okay, I think are y'all able? Okay. Are y'all able to unmute?
Yeah, I'm unmuted, I think.
Okay.
I was just writing down this last stuff.
Yeah, and it'll be up. It's just good to have it written down because whenever you it's weird how it works. It'd be like one day you'll start looking through your journal and then you'll read through that and then it gives you that reminder and not only the reminder, but it does something to the consciousness to where it's like it starts bridging the actual, like, how can I say this? It starts bridging the actual aspect of doing it. So it's like, all right, I see it. I'm seeing it, right? Because we have a lot of these people that would like, they understand what I'm getting to here, right? They understand it, but they don't take the action on the knowledge, right? Which is going to bring the experiences. So in order for you to actually be able to do the action of it is writing this stuff down because you're grounding it through your head. Your head is only going to keep you in space. Your feet are going to keep you on the ground. So you need to be able to write this stuff down. And the next time you look at it, it does something to where it's like, oh, I need to do this. Right? So that's the point of that.